with you. That is 28 years old lady, a bank employee. The previous girl, about 3 years old, was normal. This time she comes for a fetal echo at 20 weeks of gestation, and basically the reason for referral was cardiomegaly and ventricular dysfunction, and somebody thought that this is hypoplastic left heart syndrome. Let's go through the case one by one. If you notice here carefully, you notice there is a systolic and diastolic flow reversal in aorta. What do we mean by systolic and diastolic flow? This is the pulmonary artery, the flow is forward. This is the aorta, the flow is retrograde. Now if you notice carefully, this is one frame where the flow in pulmonary artery is forward, that is systole, and there is a flow backward into the aorta, but this is diastole when pulmonary artery has no flow, but still the flow continues in aorta. So that means there is both systolic and diastolic flow reversal in aorta. Let's move ahead and see what we have further. Four chamber view is showing a markedly reduced contractility and a dilatation and globular structure of an LV, and this LA also is enlarged. Our right ventricle also is mildly dysfunctional and hypokinetic. And the mitral valve doesn't seem to open too well. Let's go ahead and see something else. Now we have an LV which is poor, and I expected on the previous four chamber view that aorta would be small. That's why we would have an LV which is bad and should be a hypoplastic left heart or critical aortic stenosis. But LV, to my surprise, the aorta was normal. So normal aorta, poorly contractile LV, what is going on? Okay, let's see this. You have an aorta and you see aorta is looking fine in the four chamber view, but LV is hypocontractile and the mitral valve is not opening. Here I show you the mitral regurgitation, which is both systolic and diastolic. It's continuous flow. Notice a continuous flow of the mitral regurgitation, and do make a notice that this is the mitral regurgitation jet what you have, and you see that there is the flow reversal in fossa. The through fossa the flow is going into the right atrium. Okay, so MR, systolic and diastolic flow reversal in the fossa ovalis. Still we don't know what is going on. To notice here, there is an aortic regurgitation, and that was the reason for continuous flow, retrograde flow of in the aorta from pulmonary artery. What was happening in the three vessel view was, as the LV was unable to eject blood into the aorta, the pressure was low, and that's why there was a flow reversal in the arch and the ascending aorta in systole. There was aortic regurgitation, and that's why there was a diastolic flow reversal also. So it was systolic and diastolic. Now we find the reason of a diastolic flow reversal is aortic regurgitation into the left ventricle. We still do not know what the pathology is. But what do we have as of now? We have that there is a flow reversal in aorta. There is an adequate size of aorta, which is difficult to explain. Bad LV, dysfunctional mitral valve. I would have expected if the mitral valve is bad, there is no flow across it, the LV should be small. And if the LV is bad, LV is large, I expected the aorta to be small. Both the things are not happening. So there is a reversal of the flow from the fossa. So what is the pathology? Is that the LV dysfunction first with his aortic atresia, doesn't fit in, the aorta size is normal, mitral dysplasia, that also there is mitral regurgitation, LA size is normal. There's something going on somewhere. So now let's see, what do we have here? This is the aortic regurgitation jet you see in LV, and that's continuous, that is a continuous flow. On an M mode, you see the continuous reversal of flow across the aortic valve, which is what? Which is aortic regurgitation. Again, aortic regurgitation is both systolic and diastolic. I'm going to tell you how can you get a systolic aortic regurgitation. PA pressure, okay, I think I have that in a subsequent slide I would share with you. Now, we did an M mode, I recognize the problem. and we did an M mode to show the mitral valve was the aortic valve was moving normally. That is the M mode of the aortic valve. You see the aortic valve box like thing, it was opening normally. So the aortic valve was opening okay. So aortic valve was opening okay. Where was the problem? Now you look at carefully, the problem was in subaortic region. We had a subaortic membrane in this patient which was causing a severe obstruction to left ventricular outflow tract. So that was behaving like what? Aortic stenosis, yes. So we have seen a membrane in neonatal and pediatric population. You see a membrane here, and this is below the aortic valve, and you see on the other side, you see there is the flow acceleration at the membrane, and this jet of cross the membrane is high velocity, hits the aortic valve, damages the aortic valve, and produces aortic regurgitation. Let's sum up the entire thing together. So what do we have here? We have aortic subaortic membrane. We have that led to severe stenosis, which led to LV dysfunction. Done. Which led to severe MR. That led to reversed flow in the fossa. Then, because of the severe MR, this reduced forward flow through the left ventricle. That means there was a reduced left ventricle outflow, and that caused a reversal of flow in the aorta. There was aortic regurgitation because of the damage of the aortic valve. This led to flow reversal both in systole and diastole. I hope you like this case. This was something very, very unusual, and it's pathological, or what I say, that hemodynamic dissection would be very useful.